So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the SHRM Basque. As Sebastian mentioned, business acumen is just one piece of this very comprehensive document that SHRM has pulled together to help HR professionals learn, understand, and get their arms around the skills that are important for them as HR professionals in the field. There's the SHRM Basque is first introduced to people as a model, but it's more than that. The model is sort of the top tier, but when you go into the document itself, it really has a wealth of information for you as professionals to help guide you through your HR experience, and to provide you with those with the things that you know to be successful. Inigo, if you would go back to that slide, that initial slide real quick, I just want to touch on a few points. The second point on this slide is the SHRM Basque was created by SHRM, again, as a document to help professionals expand and advance in their career. But it's not something that SHRM created in a back room. We did not create this document independently. SHRM has a lot of gifted, creative people, but quite frankly, we are not HR practitioners. You all are. So the SHRM Basque was created by practitioners like yourself. Thousands of them participated in what we call a practice analysis study, where we picked your brains. We asked you, what are the skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities that you need to be successful in your field? And how should you be executing on those that knowledge and skills? The research started back in 2014. It continues to go. Every 3 years, we re-look at the information in the marketplace, and we learn what has changed, what is new. To give you an example of that, the SHRM Basque is about to be updated. In 2026, a new version of the Basque will come out, and you can probably all guess what the highlight is going to be. The SHRM Basque today does not focus on AI. The SHRM Basque in 2026, there's going to be a very heavy concentration on AI, because that is how our profession has changed over the years. So every 3 years, this is updated. This is a living document that is continually refreshed with new information for practitioners, from practitioners, to help the profession grow. The last thing I want to say is that, and this is what differentiates SHRM's body of knowledge from other HR professions' body of knowledge. We truly believe that to be successful in this field, it's not only what you know, but it's how you apply your knowledge to practical experiences in the workplace. And so you'll see that in play when we dive deeper into this document. So again, the SHRM Basque is the definitive guide for professionals in the field to be successful. Next slide, please. Inigo, next slide. Okay. All right. So one key thing to know about the SHRM Basque is that the SHRM Basque is the basis for just about everything that SHRM does here. But the most important piece is the basis for the SHRM exam. So later on today, Dorian's going to talk to you about the SHRM certification exams and the process itself and how it works. But keep in mind that the Basque is the roadmap for the SHRM exams. And I'll show you how that all comes together as we talk further. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to start peeling back the onion with on the SHRM Basque to give you a closer look. The SHRM Basque This is the model that I mentioned earlier, and most people are introduced to the SHRM-BASC through this model. In fact, a lot of people think that the model is the BASC. It is just a high-level overview of what the SHRM-BASC is all about. There's more detail to that, but we're going to start at that high level. There are two pieces that the SHRM-BASC talks about. There are behavioral competencies. Those are the competencies that are, quite frankly, very general. They apply to any profession. These are things like leadership, things like business acumen, things like relationship building. Those are all things that are very common in other professions. But as an HR professional, we have to use those in a very unique way. And so in the SHRM-BASC, you will see that there are 9 competencies broken down into 33 subcompetencies that are distributed across 3 cluster areas. The other piece to this, though, is that technical knowledge, which as an HR professional, most of you are very familiar. The technical knowledge are the things, our expertise areas, are the things that are very unique to our profession. We are the only ones that really work in this space. And so that combination of the technical expertise and the behavioral expertise is what truly makes an HR professional successful. The technical expertise areas consist of 14 functional areas distributed across 3 domains. And so that, again, is what the model is depicting. Inigo? So this is a closer look at the behavioral competencies on in the SHRM-BASC. So it's broken down into 3 clusters: leadership, interpersonal, and business. And within those 3 clusters, you have 3 competencies, which again are broken down even further to subcompetencies. So you can see under the business cluster, you have business acumen. Business acumen is broken down into 3 subcompetencies. And as I said, Sebastian did a beautiful job of giving you a high-level understanding of what business acumen is. But not only that, he also showed you how it actually plays out as you're doing your work as a HR profession. Next slide, please. So this is even a closer look, and this is what you're going to find when you go into the BASC document. Each behavioral competency is broken down by definition. So SHRM gives a high-level definition of what this means. We focus in on the key concept areas. These are the areas of knowledge that you should have in the particular behavioral competency area. And then it breaks it down by the 3 subcompetency areas: business and competitive awareness, business analysis, and strategic alignment. I just want to take a close look at business analysis, because then we break it down even further to give you a definition of what that means. And then we break it into what we call proficiency indicators. These are the behaviors that an HR professional needs to demonstrate to be successful. And a couple things that I want to point out: there are 2 buckets here. For all HR professionals, it's anybody in the HR professional, no matter what level, these are the things that you need to master. For advanced HR professionals, this is for those that are at a much higher level in HR. This gives that strategic eye to an approach to how HR professionals would do their business. And so you will see, as we begin to talk about the exam, that the exam focuses on one of those areas for one level of the exam and both of the areas for the other area of the exam. Next slide, please. So this is a breakdown of the HR expertise areas. This is, again, the area that is very unique to the HR profession. There's 3 groupings: people, workplace, and organization. And if you look at the subcompetencies underneath in this cluster, you can see that these are all the different kinds of things that HR professionals do. We wear a lot of hats. and there's a lot of crossover in all of these areas, but we are expected to know quite a bit in this area. And so we have to be we have to operate at a very high level in the areas that are special to and unique to our profession. Next slide, please. So again, we're going to take a closer look at one of those knowledge domains, the domain of organizational effectiveness and development. Again, when you open up the BASC, you'll see the definition of what we mean by that. You'll see a listing of the key concepts. This is the knowledge that you need to have in order to operate in this space. And then once again, you have the proficiency indicators. For all HR professionals would be for one level. And then for advanced HR professionals would be that high strategic level. So again, that strategic person needs to know it all. The person that is operating at the operational level would only need to be able to master the first bucket. Next slide. So I want to emphasize this because you're going to hear more and you're going to see more about how the SHRM BASC is the blueprint for the SHRM certification exams. And what I mean by that is if you refer to the SHRM BASC, if you study and review the SHRM BASC, you will have a clear pathway and outline to what is going to be on the exam. All the questions that are created for the exam come from this document. Next slide, please. To give you an example of how the exam is broken down, if you look at the topic areas at the top of the slide, you have leadership, business, and interpersonal. That would be your behavioral competency areas. And organization, people, and workplace would be your HR technical areas. The other thing that this slide gives you is a breakdown of how many questions you're going to find on the exam in each of these areas. At the bottom of this slide, what you're seeing is the types of questions, the breakdown of the types of questions that will be offered. 50% of the exam is focused on HR knowledge. So I showed you the slide where you had the definition and the key concepts. It's going to cover, 50% of the exam is going to cover key concept areas, the knowledge that you need to have to be successful. And then the other 50% is going to focus on that practical application of that knowledge. Next slide, please. So another layer of how the BASC is the blueprint for the exam. We talked about the proficiency indicators and how there are two buckets for all HR professionals and for advanced HR professionals. We have two exams, SHRM CP and SHRM SCP. Don't want you to think about the exams in terms of one being a higher level than the other. They really, each of them have a different focus. SHRM CP is focused on those who are doing operational work in HR. And when Dorian talks, she's going to give you a clearer picture of that. SHRM SCP is focused on individuals who are doing strategic level work in HR. When it comes to the proficiency indicators, the for all HR bucket is where the SHRM CP exam is focused. For the SHRM SCP exam, the focus is on both the buckets for all HR professionals and the advanced piece. So again, the SHRM SCP has a larger focus than the SHRM CP program. Next slide, please. So I'm going to end my piece and hand it over to Dorian in just a few minutes to talk to you about the exam and the exam process itself. But as you are considering whether you want to take this next step and earn your SHRM certification, the one thing to keep in mind is that the SHRM BASC really is the definitive guide for you, as not only for you to prepare for the exam, but as an HR professional in general. This is the document that you're going to want to use to help you understand what's important to you as you move through this journey. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Dorian, and she's going to talk to you about the exam itself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So just a couple of fast facts, which we've already touched on a few of them. The SHRM credentialing process, it was designed to verify and validate your expertise in the HR field. As Pat mentioned, it's based on and built upon the competencies and the behaviors outlined in the BASC. I always recommend to anyone interested in SHRM certification, read the BASC first. That is going to kind of set your expectations for the exam itself and also set expectations for your personal knowledge in the HR field. So start with the BASC, level set yourself, and then move forward from there. There are two levels of credentialing, which I'll talk about a little bit. We have the SHRM CP, which is a SHRM Certified Professional, and then the SHRM SCP, which is a SHRM Senior Certified Professional. And it's achieved through testing and maintained through ongoing professional development or PDC's professional development credits. Okay, so the exam itself is behavioral competency based. As Pat mentioned, a portion of the exam is knowledge-based, basic HR knowledge questions. But the second part of it and the part of the exam that verifies and validates your competency is the competency-based part of the exam where you have to apply your knowledge to real workplace situations. It's one thing to know it, and it's another thing to be able to use what you know on the workplace. The exam is relevant. The exam is updated annually. There are new questions. As Pat mentioned earlier, there will be a new section that will be incorporated next year on AI. So we keep up to date with HR policies, laws, what's going on in the HR field to make sure the exam questions are relevant and applicable to the current workplace in HR. It is universally applicable and globally recognized. So the components of the SHRM certification exam do address basic HR that should be applied everywhere. There are some US questions for those who live in the United States, but outside of those specific questions, this is kind of a whole picture of what HR should look like for any HR professional anywhere. We have subject matter experts from all different backgrounds, different fields, different countries, and so it is a very globally recognized and inclusive exam. It's employer focused. So the exam was designed with employers in mind. We do have several surveys that we have issued to employers where they have responded that they feel more confident and more competent with their HR staff being SHRM certified. They feel that they have been validated, that their skills and knowledge and application of the knowledge has been tested, and with SHRM credentials, employers feel more confident in their HR staff. Many survey results, and I think it's about 75% of employers prefer for their HR staff to have SHRM certification. It is mapped for lifelong learning. In order to maintain your credentials, you do have to continuously gain professional development credits. That's in the form of conferences, seminars, books, webinars, on-the-job projects. So you're continuously learning, and it's mapped for lifelong learning in that you have to continuously educate yourself and stay up to date on what's relevant in HR. And last but not least, it's backed by SHRM, which is the largest membership organization, HR membership organization in the world. Okay, so SHRM certification, we are growing by leaps and bounds. We love to see people who have earned their SHRM credentials. We currently have over 142,000 credential holders. That is worldwide. We have 105 countries represented as far as our SHRM credential holders. We work with Prometric Testing Center, who has testing centers across the world. And so pretty much no matter where you are, it's obtainable to get your SHRM certification. And also we have over 72,000 customers who have renewed their SHRM certification and maintain their credentials. We love to see people get their PDCs to stay up on the HR field, but also to renew their credentials and maintain their SHRM certification throughout the years. So a little bit about the process. The first thing is to decide which exam is best for you, which exam best aligns with your role and your skills and your education. And you pick the exam that best matches what you do. You don't want to pick an exam based on what you think the exam represents. You want to pick one that matches your personal skills and abilities. After you have decided which exam is best for you, you apply for the exam. We do have an application, and you submit your application to let us know which exam you have decided to take. You prepare. Preparation is always recommended. We recommend that you take some type of preparation, either in a class with one of our affiliate organizations or some type of study materials, but we always recommend that you prepare for the exam somehow. You take your test, you pass, you get your certification. Congratulations in advance to all of you. And once you get your SHRM certification, you recertify to maintain your credentials. So deciding on the exam, there are two exam credential levels. There's the SHRM CP, the SHRM Certified Professional. This is intended for those who are performing HR duties that are operational in nature. So this is going to be someone who implements the policies, the day-to-day HR person. They have a specialized duty in HR, or someone who has a very good working knowledge of HR. The SHRM CP credential is designed for this person in human resources. As Pat mentioned, the SHRM SCP, Senior Certified Professional, is designed for those who are in a strategic role. So this is someone who has at least 3 years in a strategic role. They are creating the policies. They are driving the culture of the organization. They're passing down the policies and the strategies to their HR day-to-day person to implement. Everyone reports up to this person. This is the person who is leading HR, or someone who has a SHRM CP and has then obtained their 3 years of strategic experience and is ready for their SHRM SCP. The SHRM SCP exam is very strategic in nature. And if this is not something that you do in your day-to-day role, the SHRM SCP exam would not be a good fit. Definitely, if you are the operational person, the SHRM CP is the perfect exam designed for you. We have a self-assessment tool on the website. If you visit the SHRM certification site, there is a link that says which certification is best for you. You can answer a few questions and take a self-assessment, and it will suggest the exam level that best aligns with the answers you've provided. So we offer the exam during 2 testing windows. Window 1 is May 1st through July 15th annually. We begin taking applications from January to March. And then after March, there's an additional fee added, and from March to May, what we call our standard application period. Window 2 is December 1 through February 15th. And then we start taking applications for those around June to September. And the standard application for those, for deadline for that is September through November. And standard just means there's an additional fee because there's a shorter processing time for the application. So if you, let's say, for instance, are taking a class with Seagulls to prepare you for the exam, which we always recommend preparation, you could sign up for your exam through Seagulls. You'll receive a confirmation that we received your registration, and you will schedule your test date. The time that you sign up is the testing window that you will be testing in. So if you sign up in June, July, August, that tells us you want to test December through February. If you sign up January, February, March, you are telling us that you want to test May through July. So be aware that the time that you sign up for the test is the time that you're locking in to take it. Okay, preparation. The BASC. Please start with the BASC. Start with the BASC. Start with the BASC. Once you've gone through the BASC and you feel confident and ready to move forward, the next would be preparation. As I said, we have preparation materials. Partners of ours, education partners such as Seagulls, they offer preparation courses. It has been shown, we have research that shows test takers who do a combination of the BASC and the learning system are 36% more likely to pass the SHRM CP and 42% more likely to pass the SHRM SCP. The combination of both these preparation documents to take the SHRM certification exam consistently shows higher results for those who do not use them. The test itself is computer-based. We use a testing partner, Prometric. There's two options to test, either on-site at a Prometric testing center near you or remotely, which would, for most people, is a home office or work office. It does have to meet certain requirements that Prometrics has set up. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about testing, how you want to receive your test, either with Prometric or at a remote location that meets all of their requirements. The test is 3 hours and 40 minutes. The test is broken down. The test is broken down with 134 questions. As I said, some are knowledge-based, some are situational-based, application of the knowledge. And then there's a couple of field test items that they are testing out for future exams. You must achieve a score of 200 to pass the exam. And once you have reached a score of 200, you are considered competent and you earn your SHRM certification. Once you get your certification, you can use the designation letters after your name. You get a digital badge that you can use on your social media. You can use in your signature line. You'll have your name listed in SHRM's directory of certified customers, credential holders, and then you can begin getting credits to keep your credentials maintained and keep them up over a 3-year period. Okay, so the last step, or actually the end of the cycle, is recertification. We do require that you renew your credentials every 3 years. And there are several ways to get credits to renew your credentials. We require 60 PDC credits, professional development credits, every 3 years. Advance your education, those would be kind of instructor-led classes, so webinars, seminars, conferences. You're learning something from someone or being taught or instructed. Advance your organization would be on-the-job projects. So if you're rewriting a manual or updating a handbook, something that you have been assigned by your manager and is contributing to your organization, that would be worth credits as well. Last but not least, advance your profession. I call this the volunteer bucket. So this is where you are giving of your time to the HR field, writing a newsletter, writing an article, mentoring, membership in an HR organization. Anything where you're giving of your time to the HR profession counts for credits towards your renewal. If you're not able to get your 60 credits over the 3-year cycle, the other option is to retake the test to renew your SHRM certification, and you will take the full exam again to renew your credentials. Okay, so
Thank you, Dorian. This is great.
Thanks, Inigo.
Bueno, vamos a abrirlo a preguntas. Voy a abrir con una pregunta que tenemos. I have a question for either you or Pat. From Luis, that it says, how much does this certification add up to my career, right? And will this allow me to grow in my organization or even get a new VP position or a director of HR? How much this certification adds value to my career?
We actually have a survey that showed, I believe it's about 63% of our survey takers attributed a promotion or a pay increase to them obtaining SHRM certification. So there are several employers who, once their HR professional got SHRM certified, they were willing to offer a promotion or a increase in pay due to them having the SHRM credential.
Excellent. Bueno, veis que la mayoría de las personas reciben aumentos de sueldo o inclusive promociones o se marchan a posiciones de mayor proyección. Abro el lugar para preguntas. Si tenemos más o menos 3 minutos antes de cerrar, me gustaría que nos deis, que alguien tiene preguntas. No sé si Natalia, María, Iván, Kenner, tenéis preguntas interesantes o algo sobre el contenido que hemos hablado hoy, ¿no? La visión de negocio, lo que nos ha hablado Sebastián. Habéis visto un ejemplo de cómo podéis incrementar vuestras competencias, vuestros conocimientos sobre la visión del negocio, cómo podéis ser más estratégicos. Y si tenéis preguntas, este es el momento. Os dejo un par de minutos de silencio. Claudette, ¿alguna pregunta? ¿No?
Bueno, sí. Mira, yo tengo una posición donde es muy operativa, pero también participo en la estrategia del negocio, por ejemplo. Toda la parte de compensación salarial es bien importante. Toda la parte que ustedes mencionan de análisis del negocio es bien importante para retención de talento, para crear nuevas bonos que puedan retener a la gente. Pero también va acompañado de desarrollos de políticas y procesos de control para poder desarrollarlo y el impacto en nóminas y cómo se va a, a regular la información para tenerla actualizada al día y bien registrada, ¿no? O sea,
¿Cuál sería?
que no se pierda el control. Sin embargo, también tengo actividades del día a día. ¿Por qué? Pues porque mi posición es como de generalista, pero tengo que ayudar a diferentes sitios de trabajo y a diferentes áreas. Y mi sector es agricultura. Mi duda es, ¿cuál pudiera ser el examen que pudiera tomar?
Ooh, excellent question. So let me translate for Dorian and Roland. She works for an agriculture company. She does a lot of operational work in HR, but she does have some strategic view on the policies for compensations for payroll for benefits, right? So it's a mix of operational and strategic. In your opinion, what would be her best exam, the CP or the SCP?
My recommendation would be to go with SHRM CP. The one thing that you want to keep in mind is that these exams are not aspirational. So again, if you are not heavily doing strategic work, then it is probably best for you to take the SHRM CP, but keep in mind, after holding the SHRM CP for 3 years, if that strategic work that you're doing begins to grow and begins to become more a part of your work, then in that 3 years, we would encourage you to then go for the SHRM SCP. So start where you are first, where you're doing the majority of your work. And then once that changes, when it begins to grow more and it looks like you're going from operational to strategic, then absolutely go for the SHRM SCP at that point.
Gracias, Dorian. ¿Aclaramos tu pregunta, Claudette?
Sí, muchas gracias.
Bueno, como no tenemos, ya estamos fuera de tiempo, simplemente recordaros los recursos que tiene SHRM, el SHRM Basque, tiene un handbook sobre certificación donde se explica todo la certificación y lo más importante no es la certificación, sino la recertificación. Soy SCP, Sebastián es SCP y constantemente nos estamos formando. Lo que quiere SHRM es que sigas aprendiendo, lifelong learning, ¿vale? Simplemente recordaros 2 cositas antes de cerrar. En Fegos, Carolina os estará mandando un mensaje de gracias por venir a todos. Si os interesa trabajar con nosotros, estudiar con Sebastián la certificación. Comenzamos en octubre, si no me equivoco, Carolina. Las fechas todavía no están claras.
No, sí, están. Fines de septiembre comenzamos y ya en octubre tenemos una vez a la semana clases, así que sí.
Bueno, comenzamos. El valor son $2.500, si no me equivoco, e incluye el registro al examen.
Sí, incluye el examen y el acceso a la plataforma de SHRM.
Eso es. SHRM tiene una plataforma con el que estudiáis la certificación, ¿vale? O sea, no os vamos a dejar de la mano solos, vais a trabajar con Sebastián en las clases, pero además él os va a hacer entrar en la plataforma y trabajar desde la plataforma. Y os preparáis al examen y después tomáis el examen, como os contaba Dorian y Pat, en las distintas ventanas. Vosotros decidís si en la ventana de diciembre o la siguiente ventana de mayo. Y nada más, quería agradecer a todos por venir. Espero que os hayamos ilusionado para realmente apostar por vuestro desarrollo profesional, por vuestra carrera. Quiero agradecer a Pat, a Dorian y a Sebastián. Gracias, gracias, gracias por el día de hoy, por haber aportado tanto valor. Gracias a todos los que habéis venido y nos encantaría que estudiéis con nosotros la certificación de SHRM y que sigamos creciendo como profesionales de desarrollo y de gestión humana. Buenas tardes a todos y gracias por venir.